This conference will now be recorded.
And just a reminder for everyone to try to keep on mute as much as possible. I can master with the control panel, kind of mute everyone, but it's a whole lot easier if everyone just kind of monitors themselves. So with that, I will turn it over to Chair Rotter.
Thank you, Blake. Can you hear me all right?
I can.
Okay, welcome everybody to the Iowa 911 Communications Council meeting for Thursday, January 14th, 2021. We'll forego the guest introductions, but Kara, can you please take to see who's all here, see if we have a quorum?
Yes, thank you. Tracy Bearden?
Here.
Lawrence Hartpence? Lawrence, are you here? Okay, we know that Sheriff Rotter is here. George Griffith?
Here.
Mike Bryant?
Here.
Mark Murphy?
Here.
Jeff Anderson?
Here.
Robert Johannesson?
Here.
Rob Denner?
Here.
Jack D'Angelo?
Here.
We're gonna go back up. Lawrence Hartpence, are you here? All right, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you, Kara. I would like to ask for a motion to approve the agenda with the addendum to today's agenda, adding a couple of requests for training funds, those being from APCO for both the spring conference and the post-conference in amounts of $4,500 and $6,750. If we could, when you make your motion, if you could add that, please.
So moved, Mark Murphy.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second, Tracy Bearden.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor signal by saying aye.
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 And opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. On to do it. Can I get a motion to approve the December 10th, 2020 minutes, please?
Griffith will motion.
Motion from Griffith. Do we have a second?
Anderson will second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. And the motion carries. Okay, Blake, do you have a report for us?
I do. Thank you. I will get it started here. All right. Thanks again, everyone. An update on the wireline migration. 58 PSAPs completed by the end of the day. So again, just around halfway through. Expecting to finish that effort up in the May timeframe. The discussion on the regional default backups is still ongoing. And just as a reminder, that's been an item for a number of months now, and that really just helps any no record found calls, so calls that might come from a number that aren't provisioned in the ALI database. That just helps keep them more regional versus sending them to state radio. So that's the purpose for that conversation, if it had maybe slipped your mind or kind of it's just been on here long enough that I wanted to kind of revisit why we're having those discussions. So a couple of PSAPs have agreed to do that for us, so appreciate that. And again, it really just helps keep those calls a little bit more local. And along those same lines, just a reminder that the no record found training that we did with Comtech a couple months ago is still available and online. So as you migrate, or if you weren't able to attend that training, you might want to revisit that. And if you are in need of that link, just let me know and I will get it over to you. Another item that I wanted to revisit, it's been a couple months since I provided an update on the status of the wireline telco fees. We do have a meeting with the Iowa Communication Alliance towards the end of this month to discuss those. Again, the large reason behind the wireline migration was really to help alleviate some of those telco fees. Once the migration is complete, you absolutely can terminate your Lumen or CenturyLink circuits. And in the most part, I've encouraged the status quo on the other telephone fees that you might currently pay. So again, just wanted to provide that update. I know everyone's kind of impatiently waiting for that, and we do have a meeting with the telcos at the end of the month. Any questions on the wireline migration before I go on?
Blake, are you going to be hitting all the telcos, like the small ones and stuff with that? Because we're still getting bills from the smaller telcos.
Right, that's kind of the purpose of that meeting, is to talk through some of those things.
Okay.
All right, I will go on. Update on shared services, and Zetron is on the call to provide more of a detailed update towards the end of this. But if you remember, I've for a number of months been updating you on the FirstNet dual connectivity or dual backhaul. We're about halfway through with the retrofits, so that'll probably fall off my presentation in future months. By the time February rolls around, we will most likely be complete with that. And again, that just ensures connectivity between those remote PSAPs and the host. So if ICN goes down, calls will still stay up on the FirstNet side. So again, big deal, and happy to have that basically well underway and soon to be completed. We also worked with a couple of PSAPs on the shared services to do kind of a teaser type video. It's about 3.5 minutes long. We actually just got that up on our website. I will send that out here shortly after this meeting for those to take a look at. You know, we've had a lot of turnover within the 911 community, and some people might not be aware of what the shared services are. This is just kind of, again, a teaser video of what the program is, how it's funded, and why it exists. So I'll get that out shortly after this meeting. Along the same lines of items I'm going to send out after the meeting, we just this morning put the finishing touches on our annual legislative report. That'll get posted to the legislative page, our website, and I will also send that out for folks to take a look at. Finally, on this slide, if Allie Bright from our office is on, I'll have her provide an update on where we're at with the strategic plan.
Good morning, everyone. The strategic plan has been finalized. We got feedback from PSAPs and other agencies alike to finalize that plan, and I have scheduled out the kickoff work group meetings. Those will happen the end of this month or early February for all work groups, and then from there, we'll just build off all the plans. So really exciting. Again, thanks for everyone that has agreed to participate in those work groups. If anyone out there is interested in still participating, the more the merrier. So just contact Blake or myself and we can add you on.
All right, any questions at all before I move on to the next slide? Okay, and then here's just a quick snapshot of where we're at with the wireline migration. A lot of people are visual, so this is kind of where we're at, and again, it's starting to look like it's about halfway complete. Update on where we're at with outstanding forms. Again, these were due into our office on January 1st. We have heard from a handful of folks requesting an extension. They're still listed here, but we are tracking any extensions that have been requested. So better than last month, but still a little bit of a ways to go. A reminder on the expenditure collection form that is legally due in March. So you still have a little bit of time before we have to start withholding surcharge. Update on the GIS grants. In December, 33 counties met the benchmarks. So for the first 6 months of the fiscal year, a total of 88 counties and over $500,000 went out for GIS grants. And to provide you a bit of a snapshot for 2020 and 2019, This is the most counties as well as the most money that we've ever sent out in the first 6 months of the grant cycle. So thanks to everyone, thanks to all the GIS specialists, thanks to the PSAP folks, and everyone that helped meet those benchmarks. So again, the second $6,000, the second half of the grant we're now in that period, the second 6 months of the year. So again, just a reminder to upload your data again prior to June 30th to receive the second half of the GIS grant. I've had a couple people reach out to me already about the GIS grants for 2022. At the moment, you can kind of see what we're thinking. It's basically the same benchmarks, 98% GIS, 98% alley to road centerline match. But one more criteria that we've come up with is what we're calling zero critical errors. So on future reports that we sent out, that will be kind of a category, so you can take a look and see where you're at currently. Again, that's not a benchmark now. That wouldn't go into effect until July. And at this point, we're really just socializing that idea. So folks should be able to see where they're at on the report as it comes out, February, March, all the way through the end of this fiscal year. And the idea being starting in July, that would be another criteria for the grant. And again, really just socializing it at this point. That's why it's listed as possible benchmarks, but just wanted to make people aware of that's what we're thinking at this point. Any questions on the grants? Okay, give you an idea of where we're at with the travel, excuse me, Travel Public Education and Training Fund. We've only had 2 training requests approved thus far. You can see that listed there for a total of about $12,000. So this month, as mentioned during the agenda approval, we do have 3 training requests, $6,750 for Polk County, specifically Westcom. Diffusing unconscious bias. That does incorporate the 10% local match, so the amount requested there would be the funding that the state would provide or the surcharge would provide. And we also have a $4,500 request for APCO for their spring conference that will be virtual, and then $5,725 for their post-conference training. So the remaining amount, if all of that is approved, would still be over $70,000 remaining in the fund. And just as a reminder, that kind of expires June 30th. So, over halfway through the year and more than half of the funding still remaining. So that's kind of the status of that fund. I do have those training applications pulled up if anyone wants to discuss them during that section of the training, but really just wanted to introduce it at this point. And with that, I will turn it over to Lynn Warren.
All right, there. Next slide, please. So this is just a brief update on the Iowa Shared Services System. Boone County is going live next week, next Wednesday. We're all on track for that. Buchanan County has just signed on. We're doing the scheduling, expecting February, March timeframe deployment. Blake talked briefly about the dual backhaul retrofits, and we've completed, well, actually by the end of this week, we will have done about half of them. We've got 2 today, and you can see the PSAPs there that we've got listed as scheduled. So we expect to have almost all of them done by the end of the month. We've got a few that are going to be done in February, and it's moving along very well. On the next slide, I will just reiterate what the failover looks like. Blake, could you just go back 1 slide, and I'll just finish up the summary on the CommTech Alley wireline services. Blake touched briefly on that, but just from a perspective of the shared services, we completed Fayette last week. We're doing Old Wine on January 21st. And once those are done, there are only 3 remaining Iowa Shared Services PSAPs that need to migrate. So when Blake showed the slide that they're about halfway through, that's all of the PSAPs, but we expect by February 25th, I think it is, that we will have completed all the ones for the shared services PSAPs. Next slide. So just to explain again what the dual backhaul is, we are adding a FirstNet failover circuit between the PSAPs and the host. And what we're finding through our testing is that if you have a call that you were on, that call was delivered by Comtech ESINet, you may have a 4 to 5 second audio loss as it switches over to the FirstNet circuit. The console may show briefly an error as it switches over, but the call will certainly continue. If a new ESINet call comes through during the failover time, the caller will just hear that extra 4 to 5 second ring, and then the call will be delivered. There are still the PSAPs that get their wireline calls from Lumen. Unfortunately, those calls will drop, although certainly the call taker can call out and call them back. When it switches back to the ICN circuit, when it comes back online, there is no noticeable detection on any of the calls or on any of the consoles. It's very seamless. So we're very pleased how that is progressing, and it's working well for the PSAPs. Next slide, please. And this is just our snapshot of the PSAPs that we have moved to shared services. And next month, I'll be able to show Boone as green. Anything, I guess with this big forum, we don't have any questions, but certainly if anybody has any questions, let Blake or myself know.
Hi, thanks, Lynn. That actually concludes my briefing as well. Just as wanted to point out, if you had a bookmark for our old website, our department kind of redid our website and slightly different link for the 911 program. So it's listed there if you need to update your bookmarks. Any questions at all for me? All right, I will turn it back over to you, Chair Roder.
Okay, thank you very much, Blake. Moving on to training fund requests. We have the Polk County through Westcom, as well as the 2 APCO requests that we added. Is there anyone from Westcom that would like to speak about the training application?
This is Darren Riney, the chief over there. We don't necessarily need to speak about it, but if we've got any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer.
Okay. Well, then I'll ask, does anybody have any questions about the application? Okay, hearing none. I think unless there's somebody that has to abstain.
I have to abstain, Sheriff. Tracy Bearden, since I'm with Polk County and I'm the 911 coordinator for the county, I'm going to abstain.
Okay. All right,
Mr.
we'll just
Sheriff.
take this one. Yes.
Rob Dennett will be abstaining also.
Okay.
Lawrence Hartpence will abstain also.
Okay, I faintly heard, was that Lawrence?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
All right, anybody? Yes.
Hey, it's Mark Murphy. Since I'm vice president of APCO, do you want me to abstain as well?
Okay, we'll take these. We'll take Westcom separately here first. I guess I'd be just looking for a motion then to approve the training request for $6,750 from Westcom for a program under the name of Diffusing Unconscious Bias. Do we have such a motion?
Robbie Johannesson, so moved.
Mark Murphy, I'll second.
All right, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
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 Against, same sign. And the motion carries. Okay, so moving on to APCO. Is there anything that anybody wants to say about either of the APCO training requests? Okay, hearing none. I think we could take these together. Do I have a motion to approve the APCO requests for the spring conference at $4,500 and the post-conference training for $6,750 as presented in the application?
Anderson will move.
Griffiths will second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signal by saying aye.
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 Those against, same sign. And the motion
Kara,
carries.
I'm gonna
Yes.
abstain also, for the record, since Mark and I are both on APCO.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Well, motion carries. And we'll move on to reports from officers. Do we have any technical advisories that anyone wants to present?
This is Jack D'Angelo. I don't have anything this morning, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Thank you. All right, moving on. I have a really full screen here. I think Chris Myers is on the line.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I am. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Please go ahead with your report. Thank you.
All right, thank you, and good morning, 911 Council. Brief update from the Essex Board today. We did submit our requests to CIS and ICTAP for training. Several have been approved that we're aware of. It seems like this includes our Iowa Fog development. Again, this would be helping us develop an Iowa Field Operations Guide, both in paper and electronic application form. We're also looking at a COML. The timeline on the COML is a little bit pushed out a little bit further because we're looking at whether we're going to be able to do it possibly in person versus virtual. So we're sorting out that along with the technical requirements needed for potential attendees. We're also looking at a state-sponsored COMT in partnership with the Iowa National Guard. Quick update on some SDR trailer deployments. To my best knowledge, the West SDR and the East SDR are still deployed in Clinton and Atkins, respectively. So those resources are still tied up for the immediate time being. Next round of regional PSAP training, we will be looking at identifying locations for the next round of training. If you have some suggestions on locations, please let us know. We're also still offering one-on-one PSAP training for the interoperability talk group, status board, use of control stations, and everything associated with that. We can do that in person or virtually, depending on what your needs are and local policies consist of at this time. So just let us know if you want a session. There's no cost for any of that training, and we can do multiple sessions as well, as we just did that with a PSAP a couple weeks ago before the turn of the new year. ISIX applications that were approved last month include Al-McKee County for Level 2 access, SIPCO Level 2 access, Jefferson County and Fairfield PD Level 3, and the Nebraska State Patrol for Level 1 access. We have a couple of applications up for approval today. Those include the Emmett County Sheriff's Office for Level 2 and Marshall County EMA for Level 2. We also have some standards that are up for approval today. These are updates. There are 4 of them, so I won't go through them individually, but the one that has garnered some interest, standard 1.5.2, which pertains to air landing zone coordination, that is still being edited at this point. Quick update on status board. There may be some more scheduled maintenance on DPS servers in the month of February. Any potential downtime from any potential maintenance will be conveyed to users of that program ahead of time. We're also working on some joint updates with the state of Minnesota for status board. Once those updates are finalized, we'll let agencies know about the updates as far as additional features and the deployment schedule that we'll be able to work out. We're still also offering training and accepting applications for status board access for PSAP operators, supervisors, emergency management, and anybody else within the local jurisdiction that would have the need to have access. Let us know to get signed up, and then we can also schedule some training. For the COMU personnel in attendance here or trainees, last month the ISIX board did adopt that directive, extending the time for position task book completion. The directive extends the time allowed to complete those PTBs, basically relative to the length of the governor's proclamations for COVID-19. Again, the thought process here is that since every possible event seems like has been canceled, it eliminates potential opportunities for those trainees to complete those booklets. So in fairness to them and with respect to agencies and time of personnel, we have adopted that directive to extend that deadline for PTBs, which typically consists of 3 years. Some new FirstNet sites that have been lit up over the past month include one near Cumberland, Iowa, one near Mount Vernon, 2 small cell nodes in West Des Moines, and as a topic of representation for Iowa, we have a new FirstNet Authority representative for Iowa. His name is Kevin Nida. He's based out of California, and he's got extensive fire service experience out there. Our former representative, Kyle Richardson, was assigned to a different region within the FirstNet Authority. That's my report, Mr. Chair. I will go ahead and take any questions.
Okay, Chris, thank you very much for that.
All right, thank you.
Okay, moving on, we'll get an update from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, Emergency Communications Division. I believe I see Jim Lundstedt is attending. Jim, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Is the audio okay here?
It is perfect. Do you have a report for us?
Yes, sir. Very quickly, we'll stay away from doing too much with cyber. I do share periodically detailed information through your SWCS office on cyber focus areas. However, yesterday we set out a best practice guide for non-federal agencies on securing browsers to avoid malvertising, another new word, malicious ads, and on phishing, protecting email use against phishing. So that was shared out, and you'll see something probably through the multi-state ISAC or through your state CISO, cybersecurity officer shortly. FEMA last week held an early call with the states to announce grant funding for the FY 2021 DHS grant cycles. Probably the most notable thing is that there is no minimum required funding for UASIs, and a pretty significant change where the UASI grant funding will be competitive for 21 recipients. There's also an increase in the required minimum investments in 4 national priority areas. Last year, they remain the same as last year: cybersecurity, soft targets and crowded places, intelligence, and information sharing, and they will be increased from 5 to a minimum of 7.5% of grant funds received. The FY21 SAFECOM Emergency Communications Grant Guidance, which ECD leads, along with our SWCS and SAFECOM advisors, is in final review and should be released prior to the official announcement of the grant availability through FEMA. Otherwise, the one thing that will be of interest to the 911 community, we are conducting an AAR in coordination with Tennessee and Nashville. All of you are, I'm sure, aware of the incident in downtown Nashville that affected PSAPs in a number of states on the disruption of service with a major switching center in downtown Nashville. We're conducting work with the carrier and public safety to try to come up with a reasonable AAR, and held an early call with FirstNet this week just to discuss how we get this messaging out more effectively to the community. More to come on that. That will take a little bit of time to put together, but there will be some very significant lessons learned for federal, state, and local partners coming out of that particular incident. Mr. Chair, that's all I have right now. Are there any questions for me?
Okay, Jim, thank you very much. All right, moving on. next would be the Chapter 34A Administrative Code Committee update. Tracy, do you have anything that you wish to report on that?
No, Chair, but I'm excited that these work groups are going to be starting. So hopefully we will have some work to move forward once some more information is brought back and from those work groups. So hopefully soon we will have something and we can reorganize. But we're going to let those work groups begin and start what they have, what they need to do, and then we will work from there.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Tracy. Moving on to baseline knowledge for 911 Communications Professional Committee. I think I saw Jamie Robinson. I think he had a blink out of the meeting. Is there anyone from that committee that wishes to give any reports? Okay. Do we have any legislative issues to discuss? Okay, hearing none. I don't have any unfinished business listed, but under new business, we do have one item that we talked about last month to discuss the GIS data, RCL and SSAP being shared for the purpose of 811, the call before you dig services when locating underground utilities. Blake, do you have anything you can tell us about that?
Just I know that additional conversations occurred over the course of the last month. Lawrence, if you're on, or I know John Paoli from our office is on, do you just want to give everyone an update? I think this will probably be a non-issue for this group at this point, but I'll let you guys give us an update.
All right, this is John Paoli. I'll go. Okay, go ahead, Lawrence.
No, I was waiting for you. Go ahead.
Okay, so Lawrence and I worked with a bunch of people from different cities and counties in Iowa just to kind of go over the whole idea of the 911 program sharing local data. And then within the 911 program, we had discussion like we talked about last month where we're not sure if we really are the place to share data. So in follow-up calls with the Iowa One Call team, I directed them to look at road center line data from the Iowa DOT. We hope that they can just get information from the DOT and that will suffice. And then they're asked for parcel data and parcel points. It's not data that comes into the 911 program. So any type of point, whether it be an address point or a parcel point, we really want One Call to work with the locals. And I think Lawrence can talk about that just due to the fact that the locals are the authoritative data source, not our office. And so we're still going to look at data use agreements moving forward, but we'd rather not be a data repository where we share information. We'd rather still have One Call go to, whether it be the Iowa Department of Revenue, the locals, the DOT, whoever it may be. So Lawrence, I'll open it up for you.
Yeah, not too much more. Just yeah, so and the problem is that some locals are more than happy to share data, some aren't, and then some have charges that they have for data. So it's just to make sure that we keep the integrity. Well, I'm not trying to say the good faith of our partners. I agree with John. It is it would be better to put the responsibility back on the partners, whether they share the data or not. But yeah, just like John said, we will be talking about data sharing agreements between all our constituents.
So at this point, Mr. Chair, I don't know that any action at this point is really necessary, and I think it can probably be removed from future agendas as well, however you want to handle that or address it.
Okay, I guess what I would just say is that if anybody has any heartburn over this one way or the other, here in the next month would be a great time to make that known. Otherwise, we'll probably do just that and be dropping that from future agendas. Okay, moving on. I don't believe we have any travel requests. Do we have any business from the floor? Any 911 issues from the PSAPs? Okay, hearing none. That takes care of our agenda for today. Could I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Mark Murphy.
Mark, do you have a second?
Griffith will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we are adjourned. Stay safe, everyone. We have some weather coming, so be careful. We'll see you next month. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.